Hello there, welcome to DVLog. The series where I allow myself to break down completely. That's not what we're gonna do today. Today I'm just gonna... It's just gonna be an update, I guess. But what to update about? Who knows? Well, big news, I'm still alive! Wow! That's kind of amazing. News 2. I have forced myself to actually do projects. Hopefully, that will keep me alive. And I think that's what's been keeping me alive. So that's nice. I don't know how or why I just decided, but I kind of just decided to just do the projects I wanted to do. I mean, just start kind of deal. Because, I don't know, there's a weird thing there. Because, at least in my case with depression, whenever I want to do big projects, I'm like, oh yeah, that would be awesome. And I get all excited for it, and I imagine the end result and all of that. And then my cynical part of the brain just steps in and it's like, yeah, but how's all that gonna work? And then the coin starts bouncing down the stairs, and it's like, oh god, that's a lot of work. But for some reason, I just saw past that. I was like, well, there it starts, I guess. I don't know, it's that wasn't really what I wanted to say, but it's very hard to describe. Anyway. So yes, I've been focusing on the only thing I'm pretty sure I enjoy still, which is electronics. And not much else. Yeah. Not much else has been happening. Not much of interest, at least. I mean, one cool little project I've been working on is this thing, as I showed. I don't know what initially spawned the idea, because right now the idea for this is to have it to be an ambient display for our new solar panels that we got a few weeks ago. So yeah, that's another piece of news, I guess. And I don't know what came first, the actual display or the wanting for a display to display data from the system, but either way, I think it was a bit of both, I don't know. I just know that when I ordered the boards, I ordered 10 of them instead of 5. Because I'm stupid. So yeah, that's one little side project that, yeah, I've been spending time on that. Oh yeah. Don't get me wrong, I still feel awful. Ah, crap, there's something in my eye. Ow. Something in both of my eyes. I think it's gone. Anyway, as regarding to Plan A, as stated in the last episode, no progress has been done there. Oh. I guess I'm just not ready to try and make new friends yet. I don't know. I just haven't been playing games as I said I would. I'm wasting time on other crap. Another thing, given these videos, and given their format, at least I have a reason to get the machine cutter up and running again. To actually make these watchable. The old problem with the old machine cutter was that it kept desyncing with the audio, which was like the only thing I wanted it to kept sync, and it didn't do that. And it's like, whoop, well, that project's dead, kind of deal. But hey, someone's done it before, so it must be doable, hey? It's just a lot of work. And in comes that, oh no, it's a lot of crap, oh, mentality again. But I don't know, that mentality, it doesn't feel like it's taking over as much. I mean, of course it's still there. But I can say, fuck you to it. And be like, you don't know, well, if you're gonna, basically, I drive it to its conclusion. And I basically tell it, look, if you're gonna keep, well, I tell the emotion, I guess, or the feeling of, it's too much work, that if you do that ad infinitum, it's just gonna keep being the same thing. Whereas on the other side, if you at least you start stepping, which reduces the remaining work. It's at least stepping, you know? And that's how I justify it right now for actually starting projects. But that brings in another thing, doesn't it? Finishing projects. Ooh. Yeah. I have a lot of projects I need to at least put to rest, if I say so. The NES emulator, for example, the Jak and Daxter playthrough, I mean, just a bunch of things on the channel alone, and then there's even more things in my life that it's just Yes, you can keep starting projects, Michael, but some of them you're gonna have to finish too, you know? And that thought is there, but it doesn't really affect me right now. I don't know. And yeah. Goddamn face unlock. Unlocked automatically as I just held it. It's like, I didn't ask you, phone. Why you unlock? Anyway. Yeah, projects. But why projects? Part of it, I guess, is because I want to leave a legacy. A mark, if anything. I mean, heck, I might die tomorrow, I don't know. And that kind of bakes into what DVLog is supposed to be about. In a way, it's a legacy. Or at least a journal. So others can know what pains people go through. Sure, it's specifically what I've gone through. But I hope by being as transparent as possible with all the logs I've written and all of that, I hope I can contribute at least to the research, even if it's through this unofficial way of just picking up a camera, pulling out your phone and starting writing, pull up a microphone and start recording. Whatever it is, I do this because I want to help, because no one should feel like this. No one should be under the perpetual influence of everything. Death, guilt, anxiety, everything. Everything. With every thought. For me at least. With every thought there is poison. With every grain of hope there's a flood of realization of disappointment. That's how I have it, at least. And no one should feel like this. No one should feel like they are an emotional being acting as a robot and only caring about probabilities as a cold, calculating machine. That's what I am when I can't cry. That's what I am when I can't say what I want to say. I'm a calculating, cold probability machine. It's always there, it's always cynical, it's always in my face about what's better, what's worse, and all the probabilities, and it's always there, always cold, always uncaring, always self-preserving. But I can't fault it. Because I only focus on the cold negativity of it. But the truth is that it's good, in a way. In small ways, I guess. The same thing that tells me that the probability of this not working is the same being that tells me the probability of this working is very high. In the end, it's that thing that makes my decisions. I guess that's what's me. In a way. That kind of derailed it philosophically, but oof. And I lost my train of thought because of it. Oof. I don't know. Decision-making machinery in my head is... I mean, it's all I got. It's all I can rely on. But the question I can't answer is it so negative because it's faulty? Or is it so negative because it's actually a bad situation? And that extends to the condition as a whole. Do I even have depression? Or is this just made up in my head? And that made no sense whatsoever. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Yeah. Is it faulty or is it just a generally bad situation? And that extends to depression as well. Like, is my decision making flawed, in which I have some kind of mental condition? Or is it actually as bad as I think it is? And here comes my logical brain and is like, yeah, you forgot the third option, which is neither. And I'm like, oh yeah, whoops. I don't know, that's just how I work. I just have, I mean, I don't have voices. I just have my own single voice. But it's very many of them arguing against each other with different viewpoints. Well, not very many. Usually just two. Taking two stances. I don't know. That's pretty much how I think of everything. I tend to have my voice arguing against itself. Trying to, well, obviously uphold my stance and my beliefs, but also trying to put itself into the subject's beliefs and all of that. I don't know. I don't know if I did that a lot before, but I certainly notice I'm doing it for basically everything now. In everything where there's another human subject involved, I always fill in their roles in my head with and try to represent them in their actual beliefs, and I run a simulation, I guess you can say, of a bunch of different conversations and the possible outcomes of them. And I do that as we're having the conversation. I keep like branching. Yeah. I guess in short, my brain is just trying to emulate predictive branching or something. Anyway. Life keeps moving along at its gruelingly slow and at the same time very fast pace. That's a weird thing. Like day after day after day, I just keep waiting. I keep waiting. But then for everything in the past, it's just there's no time. There's no time for anything in the past, but now I'm just waiting. I don't know what I'm really trying to say here. I'm babbling. Yeah. Oh yeah, on the thing with being transparent and trying to document all this, like one of the projects is completely bound to this. For example, what is it? There. This little ESP with a battery platform on it. I'm most likely gonna order some boards to go onto that so I can measure my heart rate. Mobile. Like, pretty much 24 hours a day. Just keep collecting data. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know what usefulness the data can have, but I'm gonna collect it. Just like I wrote the logs and published those. I have no idea what benefit they may have, but I'm sure there's some in it. At least when it comes to basic human understanding of what I am going through. Maybe there's some general understanding about the concepts of these conditions in there. Maybe. I don't know. I can't know. I'm just a guinea pig. I'm just another test subject. And if I started to actively analyze all the data I've collected, that would change my behavior to, yeah, it would just feed back on itself, and I have no idea how that would interact with the data. I mean, obviously the thought is in my head, so some part of it is already going on inside my head. Of course. And that's why I'm trying to be transparent about it. My brain wants to continue talking, but it's not sure if that sentence was finished, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. In other words, I lost my train of thought. But yeah. Alright, data. Like as I said, I have no idea what can be gleaned, if anything can be gleaned from the data I've collected. I mean, probably not, because there's no control test. So in that way, it's mute. But I guess you could validate it by, for example, I guess you could validate or compare my journals to just other generic, well, other journals from around the world. And specifically have them, like, be ranked as having mental conditions or not having mental conditions, or being actively sad or not being actively sad. I don't know, there's lots of ways to make the data valid, but I do not have the know-how or the resources to do it. That's all I'm gonna say. It's all there, it's available. But I'm not a scientist. I'm just someone who really likes to learn about tech and industry and machines and technology and biology and basically everything. I lost my train of thought again. Woo! That's one of the negative things about having many opinions in your head at the same time, is that you tend to drown out what you just said. It's like you're so focused on where to put your next step, you forgot where you are in the context of the entire situation. So it's like, oh wait, what? But yeah, I'm not a scientist. All I can do is help collect data. As transparently as possible. Because no one should feel like this. I mean, sure, there are peaceful times in my head where there's just me. Or where there's just the two versions of me deliberating over something. That's completely fine, that's normal, I don't mind that. But what I hate is when it's like someone throwing a freaking brick from across the yard into the conversation. It's like, hey, have you thought about this probability? And it's like, what the fuck was that? Even though it's my own voice. But it's just randomly interjecting because it knows, hey, that's a big red flag. Basically, I guess I want to solve the problem immediately. If I think there's a problem. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, as I said, I don't mind conversating with myself, I guess, in my head. I don't mind the probability calculation. But what I do mind is the hijacking that can happen when there's cold probability thinking going on. Because its probability is either so high or so low, it just must be taken into consideration right now, or something. That's the only way I can put it into words, and I'll just admit it right here and right now, it's not even that accurate. I mean, I can't really explain it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I want to say I'm improving, even though I haven't even begun on plan A yet. I have accepted that I probably will not be talking to my old friends anymore. But in the same instance, the opposite is also true. I'm also sure I will talk to them again in the far future. I'm certain I will not talk to them for some time, but I'm also certain that in time I will talk to them again. It's kind of weird. I don't know, I just feels like I just kind of know that I'm not gonna have any control over my future emotions. I mean, me right now can't go to the future me and be like, hey, don't talk to your friends, remember? They blah 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 and all that. I can't do that. I can't time travel. And I'm just gonna have to accept that my view of those people are probably gonna change as time goes on. And I'm probably going to eventually at least say hi to them again to see if they've changed. And that's why I say a friendship is never over. Sure, I said in the last DVLog that I've said goodbye to my old friends forever, and it's pretty much true for the coming months, or at least a year. Something like that. Maybe less. Again, I can't control how I feel in a month. I'm just gonna have to accept that I'm not gonna feel the same as I do now, probably. Because there are so many other ways to feel. basically, given the space of emotions, you can be pretty certain that if you take two snapshots, they're gonna be different. And you can be pretty certain that how you're feeling now is probably not how you're gonna feel in some time, whether that's minutes, hours, days, or weeks, or months, or years. It's all a weird little grayscale concept. That's the funny thing about humans. We constantly try to categorize. We constantly try to put things in baskets and label them and categorize and draw lines between things. And we even have computers that work on the straight definition of two sides or a separation of things. When in reality, our brains are all analog. It's all a grayscale, isn't it? Blah blah blah, something like that, I don't know. Anyway, I'm blabbering on too long, I shall stop now. Goodbye.